Chapter 2. He finally mustered the will to look at his watch again, and saw the time which had eluded him thus far. It was just after 5 a.m. Walking through the small room in which they had slept, he flicked the light switch on and saw that at some point during the night he had knocked his suitcase over, and this now lay awkwardly in the middle of the room. Strange that he had not tripped up on it on the way to the balcony. Righting the case and setting it in the corner of the room behind the door, he walked into the shower room, which was also freezing cold. Looking into the bathroom mirror, he realized that he needed to tend to his appearance urgently. Taking off the bathrobe, he made sure that the water was just the right temperature before jumping in. A sense of relief and well-being washed over him as surely as the hot water from the shower. He hadn't shaved in several days and had started to take on a somewhat rough and ready look. Perhaps that is what had endeared him to the enamoured backpacker asleep in his bedroom. Vincent had taken an opportunity while she had been in the bathroom the night before to check her wallet for ID, and found that her name was Lara Berg and her home address was in Rotterdam. The fact that he had felt the need to go into the side pocket of Lara's backpack to take a look at her passport was a damning reflection of his inability to trust. Wiping the condensation from the sink mirror, he squirted some foam into the palm of his hand and applied it generously to his face. The razor slid smoothly over his skin, making him feel presentable once again. After toweling down his face, he returned to the bedroom in his bathrobe to find his clothes. Lara was awake and sitting up in bed looking towards him. "How did you sleep?" asked Vincent. "Really well," she said. "It's so early though. Aren't you still tired?" "Yeah, but I do have a lot to do today. It's a shame we can't lie in," Vincent said, squinting in the dark, trying to make out Lara's face. She nodded, and he could make out a smile in the darkness. "Do you mind if I have one of your cigarettes?" she asked politely but playfully. Vincent reached down to his bedside cabinet, where he had left his cigarettes and lighter on his way to the bathroom. "I haven't smoked in over a year, but I think I deserve one after last night. The smoke woke me up when you were out on the balcony, and I don't know, I just really fancy one," she said longingly. "Let me just get dressed quickly and then I'll go out there. I won't be more than a few minutes, I promise." Lara jumped out of bed in a sprightly, youthful fashion. Having slept with nothing on underneath the warm duvet, she now quickly felt the cold. She was rapidly dressing, and Vincent realized that he had unknowingly perched himself on the side of the bed and was watching her with keen interest. Before she noticed, he quickly got back to his feet and started to get dressed. Throwing on his thick pair of dark brown trousers, t-shirt and jumper, he walked to Lara and handed her a cigarette. She allowed him to light it for her before she walked out onto the balcony. In the meantime, Vincent took a quick walk round the flat to make sure that he had collected everything he needed in his suitcase. Stepping tentatively out onto the balcony on the opposite side of the apartment building, Vincent hesitantly peered over the side to catch a glimpse of his Audi, which sat serenely coated in a fresh dusting of pure white snow. It had fallen heavily that night. Turning and creeping back inside, he tried to make as little noise as possible. Ironic that with one touch of the engine ignition button on his keyring, the silence would be shattered either way. Paranoia had dictated that he should install a remote car ignition. Useful on cold days like today, when the car is frozen over and needs to thaw. Also handy when the car could have an ignition-triggered explosive charge attached to it. Eyes closed, he pressed the button slowly, wincing at the thought of an explosion. Standing well away from the kitchen window, Vincent instead heard the reliable sound of the Audi's engine chortling from ground level. Standing in front of the mirror in the hallway by the door, he took a moment to check his appearance as he put his coat on. Vincent felt the pistol at the small of his back and returned to the bedroom where Lara had finished the cigarette and was now dressed and ready to go. "I can't thank you enough for your help. I don't know what I would have done if it hadn't been for you," she conceded. "I have quite a few things I could thank you for," said Vincent cheekily. Lara smiled shyly and said, "I'm not sure who should be thanking who. How long do you think it will take us to get to Sofia?" "Just over 2 hours, I would say." "Shall we?" he said, as he turned the key in the lock and opened the front door. She stepped forward and threw her arms around his neck and gave him a kiss. The taste of the fresh cigarette was pronounced but pleasant on her lips. Lara walked out, and Vincent picked up her very heavy backpack along with his own case before closing the door and locking it. They headed down the stairs, finally reaching his car, which stood idling obediently in the parking area. Heaving the backpack and his suitcase into the boot, he noticed that Lara had already sneaked into the passenger seat to get out of the cold. Opening the driver's side, a blast of hot air hit him from inside the vehicle. The engine had been idling for a while since he had used the remote ignition. Gladly removing his coat and throwing it on the rear seat, Vincent was happy to feel the warmth upon his skin. On sitting in the driver's seat, a sudden urgency hit him. Throwing the Audi into reverse, the car moved steadily out of its overnight resting place. Moving away and around the side of the apartment block, the road was in sight. Now finding himself under the linden trees, which he had admired earlier for their radiance and beauty, Vincent started his journey to the Bulgarian capital Sofia with Lara. On arriving there, they would say farewell, and he would drop her off at the airport, as they had discussed. He had given her more than enough money to catch the first flight back to the Netherlands. He realized the unlikelihood that he would ever see her again, regardless of how good his intentions were. He had been untruthful about his life and his line of work, and Lara would most probably not have liked the truth. Hi, my name's Antony Botting, and I'm the author of the Pebble in the Dark trilogy. If you'd like to hear more of this story, please subscribe to this channel and ring the bell below. See you next time.